And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I am talking with Stephen Goldberg. Stephen, by the way, thank you for being here today and being my guest.
Pleasure.
Well, it's going to be a great conversation. Stephen he helps business owners and trains them around personal, team, and leadership development, and he really helps business owners create a thriving team that gets, optimal performance, which is the name of his company. I love that, Stephen. Do me a favor. Let's start out, before I ask you the two or three questions I have for you, give us just a snapshot of who you are and how in the world did you get to doing what you do today?
Well, I got to do what I'm doing because my dad was an entrepreneur. He started a business in auto parts distribution. He went from working for somebody else as a salesman. Him and another salesman got together. They formed their own business. It actually started in the basement of our house when I was 9 years old. But prior to that, he used to take me out on the road with him on Saturdays, visiting garage stations where he used to sell them parts. He used to set up an inventory, check it. And so I learned about being an entrepreneur and a salesperson from a very young age. And that instilled in me a really good work ethic. And I joined the family business along the way. Well, I started working there on weekends and, did the most menial tasks and eventually became sales manager without any training. Nice. So I was just emulating what I saw my father doing and others. And I ran into a lot of difficulty because I didn't really know how to deal with people. I hired the wrong people. And at that one point, I hired a coach to help me in my own leadership. And that turned on a light bulb of understanding about who I was and what it meant to be a leader and managing people. And it really had a huge impact in my life to the point where I decided to join that coach and consultant and bring what I learned for myself in running that business to other small business owners. And that's how I got to be where I am today.
That's awesome. And that's sometimes the best path forward, I think. I mean, that's how I got to do what I do is you do it, you experience, and then you teach others. And what you do is really cool. You've got all kinds of videos out on YouTube, and we're going to talk about that later. You've been doing that for a long time. But let's talk about that whole team development. I mean, being promoted to sales manager with no training, I think that's happened to most of us in some form or fashion. We've gotten to a point where we're like, why am I here and how do I do this? You were smart to go out and hire a coach, which I talk about a lot. But let's talk about for business owners, right? I work with a lot of small business owners who are out trying to build a team because they want to get out of being that solopreneur or the attorney, the financial advisor who finds themselves wanting to run a business, which means that you're going to need to hire some people. What are some of the obstacles that business owners face when they begin building that team?
Well, the first obstacle, one of the biggest mistakes is hiring the wrong person for the job. And, entrepreneurs, business owners, they're very passionate. A lot of them are very intuitive. And when they connect with somebody, especially, let's say, a salesman who's good at selling themselves, they tend to go with their gut and their emotions, and they don't take the time to really step back and make a balanced decision. And balance meaning being able to verify, does this person really have the skills? Do they have the experience? Have they proved it? Do they fit with the job? And so today I use psychometric assessments as a tool to help my clients make the right decision on who they're hiring. And this is even with, I've seen very successful businesses, some of my clients who have grown well, but they've run into some real challenges in terms of their people because they put the wrong person in the job, and they ended up in problems that sometimes escalated into legal actions. And so you want to avoid that. And, if you don't have the right person in the job, no matter how much training you throw at them, it's not going to work, right?
Right.
So you got to start there. And then you have that raw talent, or you have that good talent, depend on where they are in their career, obviously. But, that's the number one thing. And that could be for somebody you're hiring, but also for an existing employee who's not performing to the expectation that you have in some aspect of their job. And so if you take like somebody you promoted from a salesman to a sales manager, maybe they were great at selling and now they're a manager, but they don't really know how to manage. And that was my situation. They don't know what the responsibilities are. And maybe that's not really what they want to do. So they keep selling, and once in a while they'll give tips to their salesperson, but they're not taking the time to coach and really develop them, because managing is a whole different component than just doing the work yourself.
Well, it really isn't. And that's so important to understand, is that so many times we find that great salesperson, we say, oh, they'd be a great manager. Not always the case. And you really need to go through the hiring process of taking an internal employee to the next level to say, are they really the right person? Because I've been promoted to the level of incompetence before in a company, right? And I got there and I looked around, I'm like, why am I here and how do I function, right? Because I was outside of my areas of strength. So that's really important as well. Hiring.
The other thing, when it comes to the challenges is, let's say you have a great employee, it's to give them the opportunity, the autonomy, and the authority to do their job. So clarifying, working in a partnership type relationship with them, not trying to control them and tell them what to do, because you'll never grow that way. But you have to allow them to, it's like pick up the ball and run with it. And you got to be there when they need you to support you and to coach them. So the leader needs to realize that at one point, I need to become more of a coach than a manager type situation. If somebody is fit for the job and they're skilled at it, let them do it. They'll do it better than you. You don't have to tell them how to do it. You just need to make sure that you agree on what they're going to deliver. Okay, and what quantity, what productivity, what quality of work, and then check in with them to make sure that they have the tools and resources to do what they need to do to achieve what you guys agreed upon in terms of performance.
That's right. Now that is so key. Is the phrase that I use in my family, in my business, everywhere is you. I always say you delegate results, not methods. So I want to bring somebody on my team and say, here are the guardrails. Here's the pathway forward. But now that you know everything that you talked about, run. And I'm here when you need me. But I'm going to trust that, after some training or whatever, that you're good and that's why we hired you, right? Go. But I'm here to support you and we'll check in on a weekly basis, but I'm not going to manage you because I've got something else to do, right? Otherwise,
you just said a key word, after we train you. And that's key, because let's say you're hiring a logistics person, to manage all the in and outs of getting product and delivering it if you're in a product business. And this person has a proven track record. There's still a learning curve from them to go from where they were to your company in terms of your processes, your systems, your software. And so you want to, when you hire somebody at the beginning, you want to give closer supervision and management, but with the goal of eventually letting go and letting that person take over and being the expert that they are. So there's a process involved in doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is so key. And so many business owners, we don't want to do that because, well, we're busy. We're entrepreneurs. We've got to generate revenue. So, but that's really important for that long-term health of your business and your employee. How do you find hiring is kind of challenging right now? It probably always has been, but how do you find that right person? That's always a challenge. Is there a way to make it easier through some of your assessments or through, I know you mentioned to me earlier, a job description template. That's always hard to say, what's the job description? How do you find the right person for a specific job?
Yeah, that's a good question. And yes, you need to, first of all, be clear on what you're looking for. What are the tasks? What are the responsibilities of the job? And what are the skill sets, the attributes you need to be able to perform that job? And, I've worked with many small business owners who put out a job posting with no job description.
Mhm.
And you could write a good job posting. When you post a job, you don't have to post the job description.
Right.
You could post, because really a job posting should be like an advert, right?
Yep.
You want to attract somebody, you want to differentiate yourself from other companies and attract people to you versus somebody else. You got to write that good advert. So maybe even hiring a copywriter would be good
Right.
for that, or somebody. And I've done that for companies, and I still do that. But the job description is the tool that you use through the hiring process, both for yourself and for the employee, because again, you want to make sure that you're both aligned as to what the expectations of the job are. And having everything in writing, it's like a contract, right?
Mhm.
If you go to purchase something or sign up, let's say subscribe for a software, which we're all doing today,
Oh, yeah.
right? How often do we read the terms of agreement? We don't. But if we get into a problem, they throw that in our face, right?
Yeah.
The terms of
You signed
agreement.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
this was and you accepted it when you gave us your credit card.
Right.
So whatever we do that is involved in a contractual relationship with either a supplier or even a customer. Think of the bank, all the relationships we have with the bank that we've had to sign documents for. It's all put in writing and kept and referred back to if necessary. So the job description is kind of like that as well. It's just a way to make things clear, put it in writing, and from that you could write your job posting, so it doesn't have to be so long. But that's really the first step. And once you have your job description, then you could structure your interview questions around what are you looking for to verify not only how the person answers the questions and to get a feel if they're going to fit with the company and with the job, but also how confident you feel that they're able to deliver on those responsibilities. I look at I'll just give a quick tip. When you're doing a hire, there's three things that you want to look at: the past, the present, and the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the past through their resume, and that's really what you screen to get them to the interview. So that's really all you want to do with the past is, and of course, during the interview, you're going to verify if what they put on their resume is actually true.
Yeah, that always helps.
And maybe check the references as well, because studies show that most people exaggerate what's on their resume. So you want to use the resume and reference checks and interview to verify the past. But the present, the interview is verifying the present. And that's where the gut, the emotions come in, because the past will tell you, do they have the skills to do the job? The interview will tell you, do I like this person? Do I feel they'll fit with our culture, with our company? But for the future, you could use partly the past, but this is where testing comes in. And that's why I mentioned psychometric assessments. And you want to be able to use a test and assessment to go below the surface, kind of like that iceberg effect.
Yep.
Where the iceberg that you see sticking out of the water, you're only seeing 10% of the iceberg. 90% of it is below the surface. And that's what the Titanic missed and hit.
Yeah, that's right.
So how do you get below the surface? And that's where you use a psychometric assessment. And the one I use is called the PXT Select. And we create what we call a performance model, which is built into the tool. And then we can match, and the performance model is based on the job. So we could then see where they fit in with the performance model that's based on that specific job, and where they don't, and who has the best match. And then you combine all three things: the resume, the skill, the past, the present, and the future, which is the assessment.
That's very cool. That's a great way, a simple way to put your head around it, to go, it's all important. And yeah, people look great on resumes, right? It's just when you interview them, asking good questions, and then that assessment tool you have to go below the surface, if you will, is very intriguing, because sometimes you might find somebody, you might be hiring them for one job, and you might find out through that assessment tool, you know what, they're actually more qualified for this other position, and it would be a better fit, maybe. But business
And
owners,
here's another tip, people may not know this, but the most popular hiring platform right now is Indeed.
Mhm.
Have you heard of Indeed?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like the Google for hiring right now.
Okay.
They bought Glassdoor, they bought, I think, Workopolis. They're like just exploding, and they're really taking over the market. So it's like, if you're looking for a job, you're definitely going to go to Indeed, even more than LinkedIn, which is another
Right.
platform to find people. But what's interesting with Indeed is now when you hire, if you're the employer posting a job, you could turn on assessments for free. And you could do, like, if let's say Excel is a key skill that you need people to perform, you could have them go through an Excel test, skill test on Indeed. So
Okay.
I'm plugging Indeed here.
There you go.
But
Well,
just to sort of tie in how they've made it easy and how it's a great tool. And you want to make sure that if you put that as a requirement, because people can skip that, and you could use that in the interview and say, you didn't, we asked you to do this assessment, how come you didn't do it? And you could even say, well, before I'm going to interview you, you need to go back and do that assessment. Because, I once worked with a small business owner that was hiring an executive assistant. And we brought in somebody to interview. And one of the key things was the ability to use Word to write letters to help him in his communication with clients. And we did the interview. He liked her. She went out of the room to wait. He was ready to hire her. I said, well, hold on. Let's test something with this person. And I brought her into the office area, and I had her sit at the desk. And I said, open up Word and write this letter, redo this letter using Word. It was a typed letter. It was a hard copy. And I wanted to see how she could navigate that. She didn't know how to do it. And she put on her resume that she was really good with Word. And she said so in the interview. So that was just a simple test that you could do. And now Indeed is making it easy to do that. But you could do those types of things in your company as well.
Yeah.
And you should.
Well, you absolutely should. Yeah. And the challenging thing is it just takes time, right? And one aspect that I like about what you do, not only do you help people, coaching them and things, but you've got tools and resources. You've got 2 or 3 videos out on YouTube. I think 200-300 probably. You've been doing it for a long time. That it's a great resource for people, and that's really what I like to do with my audience is say, here's what we're talking about. This, I mean, you're probably the first guy I've interviewed who does anything around hiring and building a team, right? So it's got to be intriguing to some people. Where can they get more information about you? But also some of your videos. Is it your website? You do. Where should somebody? What's the next?
Well, they could go to either my website, which is Optimus performance.ca. I'm in Canada, and they're in the blog section. I have all my videos, and there's articles that go along with them. And you could also go to YouTube and just search Stephen Goldberg, Stephen with a PH. Okay. And you'll find my channel, and in the description of all my videos, there's a link to download my forms, my templates. Like I have a job description template, I have goal setting worksheet, and along with all these worksheets and tools, I have videos that show you how to complete them, that walk you through it. It's like free training that you could have. And I got a whole page of documents and worksheets that you could sign up for. When you sign up for it, you get my bi-monthly newsletter, you get expert interviews, and you get access to that page where all the forms and worksheets are.
Very cool. Well,
I'm also working on a training program, actually, as part of my manage to lead system, I call it. It's a transformational coaching process. But I'm also doing, because one of the other components, challenges of business owners is they don't really understand themselves. and they don't understand their team members well. So I'm creating a know yourself tool. It was actually, I didn't create it. It's based on the work that my former partner did. He passed away, but he wrote a book about this and reveals this process to know your type of person. And I'm turning that into an online training, which is going to be for free for individuals, can be licensed for businesses, and you'll be able to access to that as well.
Man, that's awesome. Just a wealth of information, knowledge, and I love, it's all there on YouTube. It's on your website. We're going to have that in the show notes, so you can go to the show notes of this episode and click on those links to reach out to Stephen Goldberg, who just can help you think through who you are as a business owner. How do you build a team that, well, has optimal performance, right? And
we can get into a whole thing about talking about team building too, because that's a whole other.
That's all. Yeah, we're gonna have to come back on the podcast on that to do that, because that's a whole nother thing, right? But business owners need to learn how to build teams, how to hire the right people. And Stephen, you're a great resource for helping somebody do that. So I'd encourage people, reach out to Stephen, optimusperformance.ca, because he's in Canada.
I'll have that in the show notes.
I'll have that in the show notes, or just search him on YouTube, and that's going to be in the show notes as well. So Stephen, thank you, man. This has been super insightful and very unique in our Experts Speak podcast. I appreciate you being here, and hope we can stay connected.
I'm sure we will. Thank you, Michael.